People who knew murderers, when did you know something was off? My bio dad ended up murdering my stepmom. Everyone in my family, my mom and 2 older brothers, definitely knew that something was up. He had severe anger issues and was very abusive. Some of the earlier memories I have are of him choking one of my brothers. He even almost choked my mom to death a couple of times. Obviously my mom was smart and divorced him as he didn't want to see him kill my brothers. Years later I come home from school and my mom and stepdad take us all to the side and tell us he shot our stepmom and was currently in jail. None of us were surprised. If anything, I was just so grateful my mom left him. It's so strange that I am directly related to a murderer. Strangulation is the single biggest indicator of domestic abusers that will go on to commit homicide. WashingtonPost.com: abuse is never ever okay, but if you know an abuser that goes for the throat, they're probably going to go over the edge and murder someone. I worry about this for my brother. He's so abusive. Beat me up all the time as kids. Once so badly that my mom sent him away to a home for troubled boys to protect me. He is abusive to everyone. Every girlfriend has had, he has severely beaten, and his go-to is choking them. His current girlfriend had their baby back in March. Emergency C-section. 2 weeks after, he got mad at her for nothing. Stopped the truck, yanked her out of it and beat her so badly she couldn't walk. Left her there and drove off. They were living with my sister at the time. She has 3 young boys and he targets the older one because he's mixed. He's a terror. My sister finally got him out, but not before he destroyed her house and most likely the spirit of my nephew. Holes in every wall from missing his girlfriend during his tirades. I live states away and he doesn't know my address. He is going to kill someone one day and we have no clue what to do to prevent it. He's the most violent person I've ever seen. And why he can't stay in jail. My father-in-law speaks warmly of inviting men like this on hunts. Family myth is that such hunting accidents have happened twice, but in the pre-war generations. I hope to God that it is in fact just a myth. On the other hand, having volunteered for 30 years with abused youth and women, I can see the allure of a quiet bullet in the woods. We have 2 11-year-old pregnant children where I usually volunteer. Either way, I only saw my father-in-law in public, and never went hunting with him. God rest his soul. Honestly, those hunting accidents carried out by your father-in-law seem a lot more merciful than letting someone who just won't stop beating others up remain alive. I just have to wonder how many hunting accidents one can witness without beginning to look suspicious. My father was a medical examiner in rural New England. He once remarked to me that accidental discharges are often amazingly accurate. He saw quite a few hunting accidental deaths, and I suspect he thought some of them were fishy, but not provable. The murderer I know was more of an acquaintance or casual friend. He lived down the hall from me, and we hung out sometimes, but not like just the 2 of us. Still, we'd chill at each other's place regularly. I passed him one day in the stairwell and I said hi. He said hi back but called me by the wrong name. He was really distracted and kind of awkward. He didn't make eye contact and kept moving. I remember thinking maybe we don't know each other as well as I thought. Later he was playing Nintendo, my N64, this was a while ago, with my roommate when I came home. He apologized and said his mind was elsewhere. A couple days later there are cops all over the building, interviewing people and searching his place. They'd found the guy's roommate with a bullet in the back of his head in an abandoned lot across town. The next day he confessed. Holy shit, did they ever find out why he did it? And that's why you always leave a note. Common courtesy. Murderer 101. Never. He was a seemingly happy kid who brought a backpack full of, probably stolen, SNES games over to my place pretty regularly. The last time I posted this, I said he killed another teen in a drug-related turf war. I looked up his case afterwards and it was actually 2. Same here. Worked with a kid for a year or so, and he was so sweet and nice. I went off to college, and that summer I visited home and ran into him. He was his usual nice, sweet self. He killed 2 classmates and shot a third about 20 minutes later. I never had any weird feelings from him and was completely shocked to learn this news the next day. I can never imagine bumping into a person you knew for so much time, and then finding out that he killed someone just 20 minutes later. Holy duck. Murderpedia.org. This was a childhood friend. I would go over to his house as a kid. I worked for his uncle in my teens. He was in my grade, graduated together. Talked to him a day beforehand in his patrol car before what happened. Really shook up our little town. Have a crazy memory where he busted like 50 of us at an underage drinking party. Yet he was our age, but a cop, of course. He lined all of us up with another cop and they started asking questions, issuing citations and calling parents. He pulled me out of all the people that were lined up and took me downstairs. He told me to help him look for illegal substances and had me rifle through dresser drawers with him in different rooms. He found a flip lighter, etched with a Southern Comfort logo on it. He asked if I smoked. I said yes as he tossed the lighter into my hands and said keep it. I remember being so confused. I never got a citation for underage drinking like everyone else. A great uncle shot one of my great uncles for trying to fondle, or rape, another family member. Turns out everybody was tired of his shit, so the killing was never reported. Nobody quite knows where the body is buried, but my guess is that he threw it into the river. We were a dictatorship at the time, so seeing bodies flushed down the river was not uncommon. That sounds familiar. My bio-grandfather's brother shot my great-grandfather. That part is not in dispute. He never faced any legal consequences is not in dispute. But I had heard two different versions of what led up to it. My grandma said it was a hunting accident of the airpods variety. It heard from a second or third cousin that their version of family lore was that the old man was drunk and beating his wife and one of his daughters, so his son shot him to stop the abuse. Additionally, both versions agree that the old man was a mean drunk. And some people just need killing was a valid excuse back then. It's still a valid excuse in the modern era. Case in point, n.am.wikipedia.org. Sheriff Estes instructed the assembled group not to get into a direct confrontation with McElroy, but instead seriously consider forming a neighborhood watch program. Estes then drove out of town in his police cruiser. Nice. Now folks, definitely do not wink confront him. Just watch him. Like I'm not about to dowink. Had an employee on my work crew, acted strange and wouldn't listen to direction. Had goofy huge sideburns. Ended up going to jail for a short time. When he got out he shot his GF and her parents. Starburns? His name is Alex. Then maybe he should have spent 6 hours shaving that into the side of his face. I worked at a box store about 20 years ago. A guy I worked with was always off, and would give away pocket knives to other employees. One day he came in with scratches all over his face. He had raped and murdered a disabled girl the day before, using a pocket knife he had given our coworker later that day. Edit, in prison until 2051. Friend of the family's always had a thing about taking pocket knives as a gift. A superstition about how it was bad luck and would result in the knife somehow ending up in your back, metaphorically speaking. Turns out it was good advice in this instance. My grandfather gave me a pocket knife when I was a little kid, but made me give him a penny for it. It is thought to sever the relationship when you give someone a knife. Right. I knew it was a turn of phrase, but it was so long ago when it was explained. I moved to a new town when I was 19 and was making new friends at my new job. I met this girl at work and she invited me over to hang out with her and her best friend. I went and the best friend's boyfriend was there and the vibes were way off. I was uncomfortable. He was cold, and just seemed angry for no reason. They had mentioned to me before he got there that he was always controlling and had hit the girl before. Turns out controlling was an understatement. She came home one day and he was digging a hole in the backyard and she asked what he was doing and he replied digging your grave. He hit her, said if he can't have her, nobody could have her, all of that. So eventually she left him and had to get a restraining order and everything. He somehow persuaded her to get in a car with him on her work break and they went missing for a few days. Turns out he stabbed her to death, threw her in a river and killed himself. I met the girl only a few times and him only the once, but the face that I was in such close proximity to someone capable of that gives me chills. She was so young, it was really sad. Unfortunately, the stats on women being murdered by their intimate partners are pretty grim. This is just one of many cases. Unfortunately, yeah. Women are more likely to be murdered after they leave their abusers. The most dangerous time in a domestic abuse situation is when the victim is leaving. I wish we could plaster this information on the sky so everyone is constantly reminded of it. I have had so many arguments, online and in real life, with people who shit on women for not leaving men or not reporting abuse. I'm a social worker. I have literally helped women escape, And once the man realizes what's happening, they go beyond scary. Police really don't do much. Let's repeat, women stay in abusive relationships and don't report their abusers or pissed because those women are smart, and are trying to stay alive. And to the guy below that said get a man you trust to help you escape, yeah, these women generally don't trust men and have a good reason to not trust them. It's not that simple. If they aren't lucky enough to have a supportive brother or father willing to run with them, then involving a male friend can be a recipe for disaster.